One of the questions I receive most often when I'm doing a radio show or on TV is whether or not an individual should invest their money or use that money to pay off their debt. And there are really two ways I believe you can look at it. One is to use the numbers themselves. What are you paying on that debt versus what could you make if you were to invest it? But the second way is more an emotional way to look at it. For some, having debt is a big negative. They've either grown up in an era where people looked at debt as a big negative, or perhaps they've had parents that have influenced them to think that having debt is not the right thing to do. Well, I'm not so sure that's the case. If you're able to actually take on debt and afford debt, and if that debt comes with an interest rate that is very low, sometimes it's actually a good idea to take on some debt, beneficial for you to be able to use someone else's money to make money from that. I think is a very powerful tool. And so I guess it depends on the investor. Are you going to look at the numbers, or are you going to take more of an emotional approach, and wherever that leads you, that's the way you go? If an individual were to look at just the numbers to try and figure out whether it's worth borrowing to invest, very simply put, all you have to do is look at the interest rate on that amount that you're borrowing, whether it's prime rate, whether it's a number maybe below prime, and compare it to whatever the rate of return you're going to get on those investments. Obviously, if you take that money and put it into the stock market, there are no guarantees, but there are investments that can produce for you certain dividends. For example, if you look at bank investments, the bank stocks, even though there are no guarantees that they're going to continue to pay dividends, they've been paying dividends for many, many years. Not only have they been paying dividends, but they've increased that dividend over the past 60, 70 years. So one could take a look at an investment and with pretty good certainty figure out what that investment is going to make for them, and then compare that to what they can borrow money at, either take out a loan against your house or a line of credit of some sort, unsecured, etc. Over the past 5-10 years, interest rates have been so low that many investors have taken the opportunity to borrow money against their house, for example, and put that money into the market to work for them, and then use what these investments were producing in income to pay off that debt over time. And then they were able to keep the principal amount in the markets and have that grow. So it's been for many people, a rewarding process. So looking at the numbers really can tell you the story, and it's what individual investors, in my opinion, should be doing. If you like what you heard, please like and subscribe to my channel.